What is up? What is up? What is up? Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. Chase Sr. here with you. Hope all of you had a phenomenal weekend and your weeks are off to a great start. We have so much to talk about today, and I'm just so glad that all of you are hanging out here with us. We have a new ESPN report on the Philadelphia Eagles potentially signing a cornerback. Also, on the back half of the show, who will start next to Reed Blankenship at that safety position. And let's begin with the latest in that secondary for Philadelphia. According to Jeremy Fowler, ESPN, Asante Samuel Jr., one of the top cornerbacks on the market, is on the Philadelphia Eagles' radar. And Fowler said the other day, I know that the Eagles have thought about this potential addition. A lot of you might hear that, and you have this question. Well, Chase, if the Eagles are interested, if Asante Samuel Jr. is on their radar, what is the holdup? All comes down to medicals for Howie, Roseman, and the Eagles, and for the player in Asante Samuel Jr. And after the Eagles elected to not sign Jaire Alexander, after he signed with the Baltimore Ravens, $4 million on a one-year contract, up to $6 million, I think that's a steal for the Ravens because, yes, Jaire Alexander has been hurt a lot, but he's a two-time second-team All-Pro, and the rich get richer in that secondary for Baltimore. So the Eagles pass up on Alexander. Could signing Asante Samuel Jr. make some sense? Here's what Fowler had to say on the situation here at play. Asante Samuel Jr., who is coming back from a neck injury, he was one of the top free agent corners. He probably won't sign, though, until late July. I do know the Eagles have thought about that one, and that's on their radar as well. So the injury at play has caused a little bit of a holdup here because Samuel last year had a shoulder injury, only played 4 games. It was a problematic injury that caused him to miss most of last year. Then he was recovering from that this offseason, and he kept dealing with these stinger-like symptoms. So he consulted with some medical professionals, and they advised him to get a neck surgery. He's also been dealing with some pain ever since he was growing up, and so they tried to get to the root cause. And they tried to figure out what was going on with the shoulder, why he was having these stinger symptoms. He gets the neck surgery, and now he is waiting on this checkup in July before making a decision for where he's going to sign and play in 2025. And hopefully he's going to be able to have a recovery, which will lead to him being 100% and getting back on the field. Hopefully he can play well with his next team so that he can also cash in, because we're talking about a player who's still young, who just got through his rookie contract, who has a lot of ability, still a lot of potential. And if it weren't for the injury problems, he would have cashed in NFL free agency. 2021 second-round pick out of Florida State. Florida State has developed a lot of really good corners in that program's history. Deion Sanders, Jalen Ramsey, Asante Samuel, and then modern day, a couple of players across the NFL sprinkled on some rosters who are really solid players at that position. And has some good size, has some good speed, 5'10", 180, a lot of really good ball skills. And his resume points to him consistently playing with instincts, playing with feel, being able to read and react, diagnose plays, 37 pass breakups in 50 games and 47 starts for Los Angeles. He gets drafted in the second round. Immediately, he becomes a plug-and-play starter for that organization. Now, he is a little bit smaller as compared to other outside corners at 5'10", 180. Some people might look at the size and say, oh, he's a slot guy. No, he has primarily been an outside corner throughout his career. And that's important to talk about here, given the current situation and the current players who are on this Eagles roster at that DB spot. And we'll get into that here in a moment. Now, if the name sounds familiar for a lot of you who are around my age or older, or if you just know the Eagles team history very well, if you're a younger fan, his pops, Asante Samuel Sr., played for the Eagles under Andy Reid, and after he was a terrific player with the New England Patriots, winning some Super Bowls there, and he emerged and turned into one of the top DBs in the game, he cashed in with Philadelphia in free agency. It was a huge pickup at the time for the Eagles organization, and it ended up paying big dividends for the Birds. 3-time Pro Bowler while with Philadelphia, a second-team All-Pro with the Eagles as well during his stint with the Philadelphia Eagles, and he led the NFL in interceptions with the Eagles in 2009 as well. As far as his son, not as much of a big game interception-producing player that his dad had become with the Patriots and with the Eagles, but also keep in mind the organization that Junior has played with, the Chargers, has been able to play in a lot of big games with Los Angeles. But like his dad, instinctual, makes plays on the rock, really does a good job of reading what the receiver is going to do, reads what the quarterback is going to do as far as where that quarterback is going with the ball. And I just want you to look at the pass breakup numbers in Junior's first 3 years in the NFL. Double-digit numbers every year. 11 as a rookie. That's fantastic. 11 in year 2. 13 in year 3. If you're worried about the injuries, I can see where you're coming from there for sure. 12 games played as a rookie, but then back-to-back years in which he played 17 games, and then the injury-riddled, unfortunate campaign in 2024 for him where he only played 4 games. And a lot is going to depend and hinge on what the medical feedback is going to be from that neck surgery that he got earlier this year in the spring. As far as Junior's snap alignment in 2023, we're looking at those numbers because that was his last full season played. More than 1,000 snaps at wide corner, meaning outside corner. 57 snaps in the box, only 24 snaps in the slot. So he can play there, but primarily in his career, he has strictly been an outside corner along the defensive line. 10 snaps. And Asante Samuel Jr., he could play some special teams. Most of his special team snaps logged were on field goal and punt blocking duties, but he was in coverage from time to time. To kind of round this out, we know that Howie doesn't want to spend a lot of money right now. Yeah, the Eagles have somewhere in the neighborhood of $30 million in cap space, but he is trying to save money in the future for contract extensions, which will go to the likes of Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Jalen Hurts, Blankenship, and others. But the good news for the Eagles and Eagles fans, if you're interested in Junior, is that if Jair Alexander, who is older but has been more accomplished, has missed time but doesn't have that injury concern with the neck that Samuel does, if Alexander got $4 million with the potential to earn up to $6 million, I don't think that Samuel's market is going to be crazy. And I think the Eagles could get Samuel Jr., albeit him being younger, for around the same price, if not cheaper. Now, as I continue to talk about the cornerback position for Philadelphia, I continue to mention, it really all depends on what the Eagles' thoughts are on Kelee Ringo. They passed on Alexander. That's good news for Kelee Ringo. That tells me they think that he can take a leap, and with more snaps, he can produce and be trusted upon in Vic Fangio's defense to play opposite of Quinyon Mitchell while keeping DeJean in the slot. Because right now, if there were to be a game played tomorrow, I think this would be your starting alignment at that cornerback position in the secondary. Ringo, Mitchell on the outside, DeJean on the inside. But if the Eagles do have any concerns about Ringo, or even about Adoree Jackson, who's been in the league since 2017, and they sign a player like Asante Samuel Jr., that would tell me they're not fully sold on Ringo being a starter for this football team. I always like to say, a team's actions, just like an individual's actions, always speak very loudly. So if the Eagles go this route of Asante Samuel Jr., it tells me the medicals are fine, they really like the player, and they have some reservations about Ringo and Jackson at outside corner. It could also mean, too, that the Eagles just want to add some more depth, and they don't want to pass up on a player who's as talented as Asante Samuel Jr. So with that, I pop up today's poll question here. Should the Eagles sign Junior? S for sign, P for pass. Let me know down in the comment section right now. I think this Eagles decision going to hinge on the medicals. Here we are on Monday, June 23rd. That checkup on the neck is going to happen at some point in July. The Eagles also have an opportunity, if Samuel doesn't sign anywhere, to evaluate how things go in training camp. See how Ringo progresses. See how he performs. See what a Dory Jackson and Eli Ricks can give your football team, and then you go from there. We're going to talk safety here coming up in just a moment. But our sponsor for today's Philadelphia Eagles now, our friends at Ridge. The last couple of times that I've been out with friends, I've used my Ridge wallet. And a lot of people have asked me, Chase, that's really cool. What is that? It's the Ridge wallet. You can get yours today and get 10% off if you use the code CHAT. I have a standard black one, and as you can see, I have a few cards in there, including debit, credit, license, all the necessary cards that you need. But you can also put some business cards in here too. That's up to 12 cards inside the Ridge wallet. And what I love, especially now that temperatures are high and it's short season, is the width. It is still, with all of my cards in here, about as wide as my iPhone. Not as bulky as a big, old, crusty wallet. The technology, the sleek design, that's why I love the Ridge wallet. That's why it has over 100,000 five-star reviews. Also, does it give you peace of mind knowing that all Ridge wallets have RFID blocking technology, keeping you safe from digital pickpocketers? Also, it's made with premium materials like aluminum, titanium, and carbon fiber. It has a unique, slim, modern design that can hold up to those 12 cards that I was telling you about. And also, losing your wallet sucks. But with the Ridge AirTag attachment, you'll always know exactly where it is before panic mode kicks in. And it's not just about wallets, ladies and gentlemen. They create premium everyday carry essentials like key cases, suitcases, and rings, all built with the same sleek, durable design. No matter what you pick, Ridge has free shipping, a 99-day risk-free trial, and a lifetime warranty on all of their products. So for a limited time, our listeners get 10% off at Ridge by using the code CHAT at checkout. Just head to ridge.com/chat. Use that code CHAT. And when you make a purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that Eagles Now Chase Sr. and Chat Sports sent you. To the back half of the show. In 2025, who will start next to Reed Blankenship at that other safety spot? You have Sidney Brown, a former third-round pick by the Eagles, who brings a lot of athleticism, physicality, and that thumper presence to the safety spot. Then you have second-round pick from April's NFL draft, Andrew Mukuba, who at Texas, when he made that full-time transition to safety for the first time in his college career, ended up playing spectacular ball for a Longhorns team that went on that run in the college football playoff. He was a ball hawk, and among all safeties in the country, his passer rating when targeted, one of the lowest among all players at that position. And while Sidney Brown is yoked up, Andrew Mukuba is a little bit smaller, but he gives you versatility at that position with the ability to play slot nickel, deep safety, and he plays a lot bigger than his size. And I would say that Mukuba has some more instincts and a better feel at that safety position compared to Sidney Brown, who plays like his hair is on fire and is very aggressive. That can pay big dividends. It can also cost him because at times he over-pursues in trying to make the big play. So in the spring, during OTAs and minicamp, Sidney Brown was first up. He was the one who was running first with the ones. But throughout the spring, he did have some lapses in coverage. That was a little bit of an issue at Illinois. It was a little bit of an issue during his rookie year in 2023 after he was drafted in the third round, after playing for the Fighting Illini. And last year, he was a really good special teams player. That suits him well because as a guy who can dart down the field and make a big hit, he doesn't have to think so much. And that plays into his playing style of being more of a read and react guy. Mukuba, on the other hand, has been impressing this coaching staff. The Eagles really liked him. That's why they stood pat with the 64th overall pick in the second round after thinking about trading out, but they didn't do that out of the risk of maybe missing out on Mukuba. And Mukuba split some first-team reps with Sidney Brown. And Sidney Brown is a player because in the city of Philadelphia, we love big hits. We love the splash plays. Fans have fallen in love with him. But I think fans might be more in love with the idea of Sidney Brown than Vic Fangio is. Because Fangio hasn't fully given the job to Sid. And Fangio even went as far as to say in the spring that Cooper DeJean can play outside corner. He can play slot corner. And Vic Fangio, again, actions speak loudly. He lined Cooper DeJean up at that safety position. And that versatility in the secondary is something that DeJean handled very well while at Iowa. And so as we look ahead to the latter portions of the summer, once training camp gets underway, this will be a tight training camp battle. And Vic Fangio also added, it's going to take a few practices, some preseason games, to figure out who will lock down that starting job next to Blankenship. There are some other players in the mix that Fangio mentioned as well. Andre Sam, a former UDFA out of LSU, Tristan McCullum, who's been with this team for a few years. Lewis Cine, a former first-round pick, although a lot of the other aforementioned players have been first up in drills and team activities ahead of Lewis Cine, a former Georgia Bulldog. And so I like the depth as far as the youth goes at that safety position, and I like the differences in their games. That physicality, the thumper presence that Sidney Brown gives you. Clearly the Eagles high on him because they used a third-round pick on him. And then you have Andrew Mukuba, who's smaller, gives you ball-hawking skills that Sidney Brown doesn't have, and he has that versatility, whereas Brown, I think, is a little bit too slow to operate out of the slot. There's also another option that the Eagles could explore, and that's Justin Simmons. Just like how I talked about with Asante Samuel Jr., that if he doesn't sign with another team, the Eagles could go into training camp and they could assess and evaluate what their situation looks like at corner with Keely Ringo and Adoree Jackson. And then, if they don't like what they're seeing at that corner spot, they could go with the player like Asante Samuel Jr. The same can be said for Justin Simmons. Keep in mind that he didn't sign with the Atlanta Falcons last offseason until August, when training camp was already underway. So if the Eagles do not like the situation at safety, and they believe that next to Blankenship, that position could hold them back, and those other young players are not ready, they could address safety by targeting a player like Justin Simmons, who makes a lot of sense for the Eagles financially and having that knowledge of the scheme. Two-time second-team All-Pro under Vic Fangio while playing with the Denver Broncos. Simmons is also close with Eagles DB's coach, Christian Parker. Since the Eagles traded away C.J. Gardner-Johnson, we've been talking about concerns at that position. Sidney Brown is unproven, and Andrew Mukuba is unproven. Simmons is a player who gives you great depth at the very least, very good leadership, and I don't think it's going to cost all that much. He's been getting it done for a very long time. 2016 third-round pick out of Boston College. In total for his career, a four-time second-team All-Pro. He was last an All-Pro 2 years ago in 2023. I don't think he's cooked like a lot of people have theorized. NFL interception co-leader in 2022. That's one thing that he's consistently done throughout his career. Whether he's played well or played poorly, he's always making plays on the rock. The durability is there, 13-plus games played in 8 of 9 years. And yes, you can categorize him as a ball-hawking playmaker. Now, last year with Atlanta, he did struggle a little bit, but he even said it was hard to learn a new defense, and that Falcons defense was one of the worst in the NFL, last in sacks, last in pressure rate, and so that never helps out that back end. And there was some good while there was some bad with what Simmons did in Atlanta. 59.9 overall PFF grade. That was 113th at the position among 171 safeties. His run defense grade, 53.8, but you really rely on him to play at that third level and lock it down. His coverage grade, not awful, at 60.8. He did have 2 picks. That ranked 23rd. Passer rating when targeted, not awesome at 105.3. That ranked 64th, but he did have those 4 pass breakups. That's 19th. Again, You wouldn't be relying on him to play every single down. Ideally, if you sign Simmons, you can sprinkle in a Sidney Brown, you can sprinkle in an Andrew Mukuba. But again, if the Eagles have concerns there, they do have some options externally if they want to address these positions. Give me your best guess. Who will be the Week 1 starter next to Ray Blankenship? Drop me a name. Sidney Brown, Andrew Mukuba, otherwise known as Drew Mukuba, Justin Simmons, somebody else. Give me your best guesses right now.